Hey y'all, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are when you see this video. Thank you for joining me, Dorothea, on Through an Orthodox Christian Lens. It's November 19th, 2025. We're going to be discussing some interesting things that have come up regarding the Orthodox Church in total. Let me just read it to you. Meeting dedicated to UOC, that's Ukrainian Orthodox Church, protection to be held at White House. Well, that sounds good, doesn't it? This was on the 18th. Representatives of several Orthodox churches in the USA will attend the meeting with the leadership. It's good that they're getting involved in this. They should have been and should have done this a while back, actually a couple years ago, but nevertheless, they're doing it now, so that's important. So a meeting of the clergy Orthodox churches in the USA with the it's a meeting with the Office for Religious Affairs. So it's going to be held at the White House. The meeting will discuss the persecution of the clergy and believers of the UOC by the Ukrainian authorities. Clergy from several Orthodox jurisdictions, including the Orthodox Church in America, the Antiochian Patriarchate, the Russian Orthodox Church outside of Russia, and the Serbian Patriarchate will participate in the event. It's really sad that you don't see the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese in there, but again, apparently they're beholden, especially the Archbishop of the Greek Orthodox Church overseeing all of the churches is tied, it's very close to Patriarch Bartholomew, and he is supposed to, he is being, he's being looked at for taking Bartholomew's place. So I guess that's why they're not in here, which is still, to me, a disappointment. Okay, so now earlier it was reported that the abbot of an American monastery spoke out in defense of the UOC. Well, that's good. They should be speaking out. However, let me get into more detail about this meeting. So I guess that was today. Doesn't say. U.S. Orthodox delegation discusses protection for UOC with Congresswoman. Yes, Congresswoman Luna there. I'm not sure who that is, but there's a delegation here. A delegation representing 5 Orthodox jurisdictions in the United States met with Congresswoman Luna to discuss the persecution of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. This is on the 18th, so there's more detail on this. They met with a member of Congress to raise concerns over the defense of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, bishops, priests, monastics, and laity of the Orthodox Church in America, the Russian Orthodox Church outside of Russia, and the Antiochian, Serbian, and Constantinopolitan churches. Okay. Well, this is interesting. Okay. That wasn't mentioned in the last report, so this is important. I'm glad that they are involved. They met with Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna to discuss ongoing repression against the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. The meeting was organized by the St. John of Shanghai and San Francisco Society, a pan-Orthodox fellowship of American Orthodox Christians. Hierarchs in attendance included Metropolitan Nicholas of Rokor and Bishop John Abdallah from Antiochian Archdiocese. Metropolitan Tikhon, the OCA, was represented by Archpriest David Bozeman, and Bishop Irene of the Serbian Church was represented by Archpriest Vasily Vranic. The following list of items were also asked of the U.S. government: the repeal of the anti-UOC law, Law 3894, currently being implemented, the liberation of Metropolitan Arseni of, I can't say that, and other imprisoned clergy, for medical care to be provided to prisoners in accordance with international norms and the agreements Ukraine herself has signed, an end to the impressment of clergy into the armed forces, that those serving would be taken out of combatant roles and placed in support roles such as chaplains or medics in accordance with international norms. Yes, because priests are not allowed to pick up a gun and fight. And the Ukrainian government knows this, okay? Anyway, these are really important pieces here, this list of items that should be dealt with? Yeah. Unfortunately, this should have been dealt with a couple years ago, as I said, but okay, better late than never. The representatives stressed that they are not calling for the cessation of military assistance to Ukraine. Rather, they ask for mechanisms ensuring that foreign funding will not be used to persecute Christians. Yes. In December, the St. John Society plans to bring several hundred Orthodox Christians from across the country to Capitol Hill for meetings with members of Congress on the issue of protecting the canonical church in Ukraine. Thank God. Thank God. I don't know what this is going to, if this is going to help. At least they're making this aware here in the U.S., and the Orthodox are trying to do something here. That's good. The meeting drew criticism from Congressman Joe Wilson, and we'll get into that. So I'll just read you his. Okay, I'm just going to. This is what she said because there's some criticism against Joel Wilson, but I'll come back to that because there's an article on that. Okay, so there's U.S. resource attempts to discredit meeting on UOC protection at White House. Yeah. The Hill reported that the participants of the meeting of the law of protection of the UOC at the White House are, quote-unquote, lobbyists and clergymen associated with the ROC. Again, how many times have I had to say that they are totally ignorant? Ignorant. All they see is political stuff. They don't understand how the church works, the hierarchy, the jurisdictions, the communion with all of them, that they're all one. They just don't have the mindset to understand this, apparently. The American resource, The Hill, published an article attempting to discredit participants of a meeting at the White House between the clergy of the Orthodox Church of the USA and representatives of the U.S. Office of Religious Affairs. On Monday afternoon, an article entitled White House to Meet Clergy with Ties to Pro-War Russian Orthodox Church. Okay. Again, this is sounding like ties to spies and KGB and all, and this is ridiculous. Okay. It was published by Laura Kelly of The Hill. Well, she's very ignorant. This article was written about meetings between Orthodox lay people, priests, and bishops with members of the Trump administration that are set to take place Tuesday on Capitol Hill. The topic of discussion is the persecution of the canonical Ukrainian Orthodox Church. The article quotes Congressman Joe Wilson saying that ROKOR or other Russian Orthodox jurisdictions could serve as vehicles for intelligence collection or of foreign influence operations directed at U.S. policymakers. Again, that's not what the Orthodox people do, okay? It's ridiculous to make everybody sound like spies. This is so outrageous and so ridiculous. I mean, it just, there's no other words. Interestingly, after a meeting with Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara earlier this month, Wilson, who is a member of the Congressional Ukraine caucus, said, "Great, yeah, so if you're part of the Ukraine caucus, you should be concerned about the Ukrainian church, but you're not because you've fallen for the propaganda. Grateful to meet with President al-Shara. A free, united, prosperous Syria is the biggest opportunity since the end of the Cold War." Yeah, that was an embarrassment. The head chopper coming to the White House. Everybody tries, the Trump administration and some of the government just try to erase the fact that he has never been remorseful over the killings of the people in Syria. Christians, Shia, even some Sunnis, Alawites, etc. Yeah, as it says, he's a former member of Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, a jihadist group that splintered from Al-Qaeda in 2016, and that has been responsible for the death and displacement of numerous Antiochian Orthodox Christians. That's right. Christians who could be called vehicles for intelligence collection of or foreign influence operations used in Wilson standards. Exactly. Exactly. And the representative for the Antiochian Orthodox Church in Damascus, the patriarch, is present too, calling for this end to this persecution in the UOC. So it's not just ties to but so they're tying. They've got the Antiochian Church has ties to the Russian Orthodox. Yeah, of course the Russian Orthodox Church and the Antiochian Church have ties. All churches have ties to the other ties because we're all in communion with each other. Anyway, let me go to this. So here's American politician criticizes Congressman for discrediting hierarchs. So there's a lot going on here. Thomas Beach called Wilson's words a really ugly smear of Orthodox Christians. South Carolina State Representative Thomas Beach sharply criticized U.S. Congressman Joe Wilson's statement that the Orthodox Christians in America could serve as vehicles of foreign influence. Really ugly smear of Orthodox Christians as agents for a foreign power, he said on X. This is beneath the office. He also called on Joe Wilson's son, Alan Wilson, who is the state's attorney general and a candidate for governor, to stand up for the rights of Orthodox Christians. I hope he will forthrightly speak in defense of the rights of Orthodox Christians to practice their faith without government persecution or harassment. So, people are speaking about that. One last thing. Serbian church accuses the Hill of slandering its hierarch. The eparchy stated that the Hill's publication about Bishop Irene's alleged meeting with Vladimir Putin is fabricated and misleading. On the 18th, the Serbian Orthodox Eparchy of Eastern America refuted the Hill article, claiming that Bishop Irene had supposedly met with Russian President Vladimir Putin. In a statement sent to UOJ in America, the eparchy called the Hill's piece blatantly misleading and stressed that the information about a meeting between the hierarch and Putin is entirely invented. The eparchy stated that Bishop Irene has never met the Russian president and never accompanied Patriarch Porphyry, during his visit to Moscow in April 2025. His Grace Bishop Irene, Bishop of Washington, New York, and Eastern America, has never met with Vladimir Putin. Neither did he accompany His Holiness Serbian Patriarch Porphyry to Moscow in April 2025. The implication is egregious and tantamount to defamation. The eparchy also noted that the bishop has been actively defending the rights of the faithful of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church who are facing unprecedented persecution in Ukraine. Again, this is the key problem. We're not allowed to defend the canonical church. The statement emphasizes that the American public deserves a far higher level of accuracy and responsibility in journalism than what the Hill demonstrated. The eparchy expressed hope that the editorial team will take action regarding the authors of the article and will publish a proper correction reflecting the real facts. Now, let me just say this. It wouldn't be not totally wrong for any patriarch to go and talk to Vladimir Putin if they had concerns about the war or anything else that's going on. They should be able to do that. They should be able to go and talk to any president, or they're at least their representatives of the president. If they have problems with what's going on, they should be able to talk to him. If they have a problem with the war situation or what's going on with the Russian side, they should be able to do that. So, again, there's a lot of ignorance in America, and they always look at everything politically. They don't look at the fact that we in the church are not centered on politics. We're centered on on Christ and our church, and wanting this war to end and wanting the persecution to end in to any of our churches. However, I will say this. We, Orthodox Christians and other pious Christians that understand the truth and God and believers of Christ must be prepared for slander and more persecutions in the future, at a time when things may get tougher for us. However, I will say, we're supposed to have this flowering after this terrible war. Please continue to pray that God lessens the catastrophes that are to come. And again, with our prayers of repentance, we can alter this. So let's keep praying about this. We can alter these catastrophes, the level of destruction, some of the things that are going to happen. We can maybe, it can be changed. So anyway, all of that was important to share of what's going on. At least our church jurisdictions of several are trying to get people here, our representatives here in the United States, to pressure Zelensky, I would hope, to get his state to stop the persecutions of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, the Canonical Church. Lots of suffering over the past 3 years, so better late than never. Hope you all found this informative. Thanks so much for watching, for following my channel. I hope you have a great rest of your day, evening, morning. Until next time.